I'm Jim Ross. He's Matt Van Horn. And this is the 3 Mile Domination Podcast.
Well, great. So another episode here for 3 Mile Domination. How's everything going, Matt?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Not really good. We'll just keep plugging away here. Anyway, we always chat a little bit beforehand and talk about what we want to talk about in this upcoming podcast. And again, it's kind of funny. It's self-storage. You think it's only a finite number of topics, but we have a whole list of topics we're going to bring out every single week. So this week we're talking about it's a basic principle, but it's important in this business, and that's just making sure the information that we have for each customer, their contact information, is correct. And so basically, Matt, if you want to kind of get things started, I'll pitch in here and there, but yeah, take it away.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get started this week just on some things that I noticed while I was out doing site visits this week. We have a property in Texas. I was actually going out to look at some of my competitors there to see what they were doing, and we had a couple new ones open up in the last few months, and I wanted to get my feet on the ground and take a look at them. It still ceases to amaze me that I can walk into any self-storage facility. This is really prevalent in our industry, and I think it's just because we're now getting used to doing it where maybe we haven't done it in the past, is walking in and I walked into 2 separate competing facilities. Not one of the managers asked me for my name, first off, just my name. Or did they ask me for any contact information to follow up with me to see if I'd be interested in renting a self-storage unit? Not one. I mean, they didn't even get on a name-by-name basis with me while I was at the property. I was at each of them for about 10 or 15 minutes. And when you go to these properties, and all of us who are in the self-storage industry know this, you walk in and, because you're in the industry, you tend to try to lead the conversation when you're not getting any response.
Sure.
But our customers won't do that because they don't know what questions to ask or what really works for them, and they don't have the in-depth experience that we have, so we know what questions to ask, what we're looking for, what security features, what access. But our standard customer doesn't know that. So I'm just shocked that and how many facilities that I visit on a day-to-day business don't even ask for my name, much less any other contact information.
I have a quick question. I got to jump in here. It has nothing to do about getting contact information. It's just the pet peeve of mine. When you walked in, how many of those managers actually stood up from their desk and said, "Hi, how are you"? How many of them stood up, or did they just sit down at their desk?
Oh no, I've got an even better one. They weren't even in the office when I walked in. Neither one of them. Both of them were doing things in their apartment.
Oh, I get that all the time. Managers are playing in their apartment.
It's not that they weren't even, they didn't even stand up from the desk and ask my name. They didn't even ask my name when they got out of their apartment. And one of them, to be honest with you, was fighting with their kids in the other room and were walking out and screaming at their kids as they were walking out the door.
Oh, that's so professional.
No, and look, I've got young nieces, and I know, Jim, you have kids, and I mean, everybody understands. But it's just not the place for it. And we really, really have to be careful. I mean, I was just running some quick numbers. While I'm sitting here at my desk, let's say, anybody who walks into a phone call, and we always talk about how valuable phone calls and walk-ins are, just to the bottom line. And this is where our return on investment and, how long, our length of stay and all of these things become very, very important, because if I'm looking at a unit, let's say it's a 10 by 10, let's say it averages $100 a month, let's say your average stay is 10 months, which would be $1,000. Now, take that $1,000 and put it on a cap rate. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, because, this is going to vary between, the size of your facility, where you are, and all these other things, but what your cap rate is. So let's throw it on a 10 cap. $1,000 on a 10 cap is $10,000. So, I mean, if you're looking at what your facility's worth, value-wise, just on missing one walk-in or one phone call, that's the number.
Okay.
So multiply that across how many you're missing per month, and that number gets extremely large. And I don't think most of our managers really understand, and not all of them. When I say most, I'm talking about a large swath of them, but not all of them. But there's a disconnect between what what facility owners and investors are looking at, and sometimes what our managers are looking at. And I think it's right there, personally.
Exactly. So that kind of let's go back to as far as make sure the contact information is correct. Let's go back to that here.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm walking into a self-storage facility and as a customer, I expect for obviously the manager to be behind the desk ready to help me when I walk in, not coming out of their apartment screaming at their kids. But as a self-storage manager, my ideal thing is to convert them right there. And, especially on a phone call, so a walk-in should be a lot easier, but on a phone call, my job is to try to convert them to come in and rent. And if I'm not able to convert right at that point in time, one of the first things I should be doing so I can follow up if I don't convert is getting that contact information, getting a name, getting a phone number, getting an email address. Everyone should have some sort of follow-up system set in to go back and contact people and things like that, because we just cannot afford to miss phone calls or to miss customers anymore. We just can't.
Yep. Everything counts. So I'm just curious, so when you go and walk into these places and just do it as a walk-in, what do you recommend as far as, making sure you get the right information? What's your approach when customers walks in off the street and is looking for a unit?
Well, obviously the first thing I'm going to do is be ready to deal with that customer. I'm going to stand up, I'm going to greet them as they come in, I'm going to give them my name, and first thing I'm going to do is get on a first-name basis with them, just so we have some sort of rapport. And then, obviously as we go through the sales, presentation, we're going to bring them out. We're going to look at the unit. We're going to go through, all of the different USPs or, what makes you different from your competitors. I'm not necessarily saying calling out competitors because no one really wants to do a sales presentation and knock your competitors. But what I want to do is bring out things in my facility that if they go to another store, let's say they don't rent right then, that they're going to be thinking about in the back of their mind. Perfect example. One of the competing properties that I visited in Texas didn't lock all of their units. The only units that were locked were the ones that had customers that were rented. Yeah. So if you go back to this property and you know that none of these units are locked, there can be all kinds of havoc created in there. People could just come in, they could go into the wrong unit, put locks on them. People could just go in and start digging through walls and going right into other people's units. I mean, there's all kinds of problems that kind of thing, can cause. So that was definitely one of the things that I would point out in my sales presentation, that, hey, we lock all of our doors for security reasons. And then hopefully if somebody, goes to another property, they'll remember that first off.
Yeah, yep. And the most important thing, I think, what we kind of skimmed over is, as far as getting contact information, is what you first said. Get their damn name. Use their name as they're talking, as they're there. Start building that rapport. So, I mean, just I don't want to skim over that, and that's so important. When you first walk in, is introduce yourself. Hi, my name is Jen. Thanks for coming in. What's your name? How can I help you? Just get it right up at the very beginning. Get their name.
Right, because part of storage, I mean, not only is the sales presentation, but there is a certain level, based on the industry that we're in, a certain level of trust that has to be established. I literally have to trust you to put my goods here to know that that I feel confident that they'll be safe.
Yep.
And if we're not establishing any rapport whatsoever, and I'm not saying that's the only thing, but if we're not doing that right off the bat, how do I feel comfortable storing grandma's furniture here? It's just, I think it's just really, really important to be on that first name basis right away.
No, exactly. No, exactly. And again, I want to definitely go into in future podcasts. I want to walk through. I want to do a sample walk-in. I want to do a sample when they call in and break down the sales call. Really break down the sales information so it's crystal clear for everybody. In fact, we'll be putting up video and stuff and audio on our website as well, just as a reference point. But as far as making sure the contact information is correct, let's go ahead and skip forward to, okay, you've done everything right. They're renting the unit. They're filling out the contract. Let's flash forward to what information do we make sure we need to be getting and is correct?
Well, I mean, first off, we want to make sure that the name and everything matches the name that they're using. I mean, so many times I've gone through contracts and people have misspelled letters, everything like that. Let's make sure that's correct. Let's next make sure that the address is correct. And, a great way that you can do that is just to send something out, a follow-up postcard that says thank you, something like that, to see if the address is solid. And again, as we talk about addresses, let's make sure, too, that when we're doing this, we have, apartment numbers, suite numbers, everything else correct. Because if you ever have to go into the lien procedure, and again, we never start out a rental contract looking at that, but if we have to down the road, we want to make sure all that information is correct. I want to make sure that we have a correct phone number so that we can reach this person. A lot of times we get phone, that we were given numbers that are turned off, rather quickly after we get them. We want to make sure that, we're getting good contact information for a phone number, and then email. I can't stress how important email has become. I would like to see also, a solid email address so we can, utilize that in our marketing purposes if we need to, or it's just another really direct way of contacting someone.
Yep. And a lot of people nowadays, they prefer email versus, picking up the phone half the time. So email is great. I have some of my locations, they're upwards of 90% plus of email penetration on our customers. And it just makes everything so much easier. And I want to make a quick note as far as, getting their mailing address information. It's a great website, and just use it. It's USPS.com, it's United States Postal Service. And go on, find zip code. A lot of times it seems like zip codes are wrong. I always have my managers go through when they get their typing in their contract, hurry and go to that website, type in the address, hit enter, and it will give you the full zip code analysis. So it's, the 5 digits dash the next 4 digits. It will give you the entire zip code. That way, it's a great way to just double check you have the address correct as well. And you can do it right then and there before the customer leaves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's amazing how often we do complete contracts or lease agreements, and people don't even know their own zip code.
Yeah, and again, all this boils down to, if we want to just really distill this down to the basics here, don't rush it. when you got to move in and they're filling everything out, take the extra minute or two and make sure you got everything filled out correct. I hate the ones that are all about just getting name, address, phone number. Okay, cool. Sign here. See you later. Have a good day. Here's your lock. See you next time. Take the time to make sure you get everything done right, because it's going to save you so much more time on the back end of knowing you're not going to have to play detective work and trying to find all the correct information and then trying to get their email address later on, or trying to make sure where they move to or the right zip code. Take a few minutes up front. It's going to save you a lot more time in the back end.
I mean, even above and beyond, well, I know we're focusing on contact information, but I mean, even above and beyond that, if you're doing a sales presentation and someone rents a unit, walk out there, make sure they know where their unit is. Walk out there with them and have them put their lock on in front of you. Walk out with them and have them test the gate to make sure they know how to get in and out. Because if you're a manager on site, I guarantee you a 24-foot U-Haul is going to be coming in at 7 o'clock at night right after you close your office, and someone's going to be knocking on your apartment door, or calling the emergency phone line telling them they don't really understand how to use the gate.
Yep. I mean, that kind of comes more on the sales part of it as well. But, yeah, again, nothing irks me more as far as someone coming in and going, I need a 10 by 20. Well, let's go out and take a look at it. And they're like, nope, I know that's what I need. Let's just do it right here and now. Insist. It's policy. Nobody rents until we go out there and physically look at that unit. Because I can't tell you how many times that, the manager falls for that, rents from the unit, they get busy, and next thing you know, they forgot to take the vacant lock off of there, and like you said, they show up at the U-Haul and they can't get in the damn unit. And I'm getting a phone call, the customer all pissed off. So no, no one rents until you out there physically check that unit, and again, make sure the lock's taken off, and then again, maybe they don't like that unit, like you just said. Maybe they have a big U-Haul, they want this corner unit. It's going to be a lot easier to get in and out of. This is more customer service oriented. Help them choose the correct unit. We're doing it for their benefit and ours.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, in future podcasts, we'll get into sales presentations and how to talk on the phone and, all these different things. But, the main thing is, you got to get the contact information nowadays. I mean, you need to have a database where you're keeping track of people that you've spoke with, people that you've met with. We just have to. I mean, the competition in our industry is just grown too much. It's no longer, and again, we've hit this a million times before, but it's no longer, throw up a facility and all of a sudden you'll rent up just because you're there. Those days are gone. We've become a much more sophisticated, mature industry than we have even, 8 years ago. All the development during the 2000s, everything has just made customers that much more valuable, and we have to convert them. We have to learn sales. Because if we don't, we're going to get left behind and your property won't make it.
Oh, yep. Yeah, 3 Mile Domination probably wouldn't have existed.
No.
Maybe even 5 years ago. It's a different monster now.
When you and I first started, there was no reason for this. Obviously we wanted to be the best that we could be at the time, but there was no reason to formalize a lot of this stuff. I mean, we did what we did in the office. We took care of the gate stuff. We sat at our desks. The phone would ring 7 times. We would convert the people. And then over time, we were 90% and yada, yada, yada. Life was grand. And we didn't even need this. Now, it's just the landscape has completely changed. And I really, really believe, in self-storage now, we're kind of in an adapt or die type environment. There are places, and I manage in some of them and things like that, where things are still very, very, I wouldn't say not sophisticated wouldn't be the word, but where the marketing and everything, the competition hasn't heated up as much. There are places like that where I've heard, people, I don't need a website. Well, yeah, okay, I understand that, and there's certain areas where that may work, but the majority of areas, that's just not the case anymore. We need to be able to be a little more quicker off the mark on these things.
Yeah, well, not to contradict you here, but as far as even somebody said sometimes may not need a website, I say no. Even when you got some of these little towns that everyone knows everybody and they know where you're at, got great drive-by, don't need no website. I've had this conversation. It's like, no, even if it's a cheap website, you will get those extra rentals from the people that's all they do is look online. And if you're the only game in town, it's pretty easy. You're gonna get that rental. So,
right, yeah. I mean,
we'll do without it again later on our podcast as well. But everyone needs to have a basic website, and I want to go over as far as what a website should have. Just the basics. But again, we'll get into that one again later. But it's going back to contacts. Again, the bottom line is take the extra time. Got the customer in front of you. Get all the information you can up front. It'll save you tons of time on the back end when you're trying to track these guys down when they become delinquent. Not to say everyone does become delinquent, but you'll be happy to have all the information when they do.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, good. Well, I think we're good on today's podcast. If you have anything else to add.
No, I think I pretty much said what I wanted to say on this. Again, I'm just shocked that in this day and age that I can walk into a storage facility and no one's even asking my name. That just shouldn't even be possible anymore.
Oh, it's crazy. I think next week's podcast I want to go into sales calls because we shop. And that's what we do. We shop for our competitors. And I've probably talked to 100 different self-storage sites in the last couple of weeks. And it's amazing the lack of sales training out there. So I think we should hit that in detail on next week's podcast.
Oh, I think that sounds great.
Cool. All right. Well, you have a good week, and we'll catch up with you later.
All right. Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the 3 Mile Domination Podcast. Please check us out at our website, 3miledomination.com, where you can download our free ebook, connect with us on all the social media platforms, and to subscribe to this podcast. Please spread the word to those you think that will benefit from this show. Just don't tell your competitors. Thanks again.